Jennifer Madden. We're here at the Palo Alto Arts Center along with two other artists to talk about our work tonight. My husband and I work for Madden Designs for a partnership, and we really got into public art when we won the commission in Palo Alto on California Ave, the sunflowers in 2002. We completed it, and we've been doing public art ever since.
Okay. When I met my partner, Jeffrey, who's in the audience, I was at the time designing a house, and he was designing gardens. His background's in architecture, so we kind of flipped degrees there. This was one of his early gardens in the San Francisco Marina. And both of us loved sculpture, and his background is in, as I said, architecture, also rammed earth and concrete. So he did a lot of rammed earth, both artfully for buildings, and designed a lot of concrete elements like benches. And this is in downtown Davis for the farmers market, a sculpture that has water and a well. It's called Source to Resource. And that was before he met me. And then this is sort of in our honeymoon stage. And we were both interested in creating metaphors in the garden. And this is in the old Oakland fire zone. This was an old foundation that was burnt out of the house. And now you see from 3 stories up. So this is a metaphorical ocean meeting a beach, and the bench is a boat, and this is a Rochambeau test, concrete, metal, and rock, which beats the other. This is a private garden fountain up in Kenwood, and we like to explore nature versus man and technology. So there's always a piece of nature in every piece of sculpture and space that we create. This one, Jeff has cantilevered a great heavy concrete table over. This is another private garden, and prior to Palo Alto, we were doing a lot of sort of personal sculptural gardens for private residences. This one is a fountain that's on axis with a house. This one, I don't know if anyone's seen this, but this was in the San Francisco Garden Show about 10 years ago, and we were trying to get people to think about big water and using less water, and it's entitled "Who's Invited for Drinks at the California Water Table?" And can you see the little dry martini glasses? And then there's some Latin name tags, and so the only people invited to this cracker at the table are drought-tolerant plants. And then in the background are all natives looking on. So the idea is if you bring non-natives, have them be drought tolerant, then you'll have more water to circulate through the water table. And we actually sold a few of these through ourselves and through a gallery, but they weigh about a ton, and they weren't easy to transfer around. So we thought maybe we should make something that we can make FedEx. Sorry, these are the planters. So this was made to make us rich, supposedly, and we were going to mass produce these fountain tables that fit in a FedEx 100-inch maximum, and they have integral fountain and light in the center leg, and then you eat around it. And we sold, a dozen of these or so. Here it is in a different top, and then we realized we were making less than $10 an hour, and we don't like doing things twice, so we sort of here's some ones that are bigger. So we sort of abandoned these and continued to do some, personal elements for people. And then along came Palo Alto, and Palo Alto sort of launched us on the map of public art, although there had been a few prior, they were small. So we were asked to put a piece of sculpture here that at least had some solar. It could be anything, but because Palo Alto Utilities was paying for it because they had knocked over some boulders that they didn't know were art. They had to repay the art board, so that they, in return, said, we'll make it a solar component because Palo Alto is ahead of the time in in solar. So at the very last second, we changed our design to include these spinning kinetic poppies, which is our state flower, that have solar panels above and light up at night. But because our training is in architecture and landscape architecture, we always want to make places for people. So for us, public art is about bringing people together, not just objects, but places for art. And so we're most happy with the fact that this place has a lot of people. And I went by there today. It's quite dirty, which is great. It means people are eating and drinking and using it. So here they are. They're stainless steel, although it looks like bronze. There's a patina on top. And 3 spin clockwise and 4 spin counterclockwise. And here they are from above. You can see the solar panels. And on the right, they light up at night with LED lights. And then the tabletops look a little like leaves of nasturtium. And we created this bench, which doubles as a bollard, so you don't feel like you're going to be run over by a passing car. And we added this river element that actually also drains the sidewalk area. It's only 10 feet deep, and that's, I think, why the American Institute of Architects gave it an urban planning award, because it really was only once upon a time, 2 parallel parking spots that now are very likely urban space. So San Francisco is now trying to replicate, not our art, but the idea of using the space next to the sidewalk and between the street. Here's another picture of just people using it. And we added an educational plaque to talk about not only who funded it, but the idea of promoting wind and solar energy. And we opened it on Earth Day and had a dance celebration. And there's thousands of dried rose petals up inside the flowers that when we pulled the veils off, they were supposed to have a Kurosawa moment with them just fluttering very slowly down to the ground. And they just went poof on top of the dancers. Anticlimactic instead. The dancers were clever, and they scooped down and they started throwing them up and again and again and again, so it turned out better than we expected. And here's them being made at our studio. They're cut with right here they are. This is my husband Jeff Reed, and he's the welder. And I always say, we make these, and I'm the grinder, and I always say he has the better job by far. Anyway, they're making in our very small space. So here we are. Has anybody seen this? Does it ring a bell? Oh, there are a few of you. This is in the Striving Arboretum in San Francisco, the new Australian garden. And we were asked to come up with some sort of sculptural seating, and we decided we were going to make a Zen garden for it. And you come into this circle. This is under construction, and there's seating all around it. You can sit 30 people for an outdoor classroom, but it doesn't look like seating, not necessarily. And then we put a dry creek and rocks through the center, and we're pleased with it. Here is it again under construction, and 3 shots of it. We make everything. It's just the 2 of us for the most part. And this is one of Jeff's inventions of using tin foil to make a crackled earthen finish on the concrete. And what's not great about it is it takes forever. But what's great about it is that it does hide and discourage graffiti and cracks. And there's only 2 kinds of concrete: the kind that's cracked, the kind that's gonna crack. So we've used it a lot. This is a fountain in Belvedere, California. And just little drops make their way down. Maybe you can see it here. So they're sort of invisibly appear on the top wave and make their way down to the pier and the beach below. This is a recently completed project. Here it is in our studio. This is called The Flock. It's at Seal Point Park, which is just north of here in San Mateo. A very, very windy park. And here it is installed, and these birds rock in the wind, and then they spin. Whoops, that's out of place. We'll get back to that. Actually, remember that shot. Here, this is our largest piece and the one we're most proud of, although we're very proud about it. It's in Tiburon, California. This is right downtown on the old Main Street and Tiburon Boulevard. You can hardly miss it. And it was a very controversial piece going in. A lot of people didn't want anything that looked the least bit modern in their historic railroad town. But the day we completed it, we got a lot of naysayers coming up and saying, oh, you know what, I didn't think I was going to like it, but I really do. So that was rewarding to hear. So these 5 sails, Tiburon means shark in Spanish. So we were told that we had to make a fountain. It had to be here. This is for the competition. And it could either be sharks, sails, or railroads. But we didn't want to make art out of railroads, so we tried to combine the shark with the sails. So these 5 sails rotate very slowly. It takes 3 minutes for them to go one way and 3 the other. And then there's this infinity edge pool and the boat bench, which seats about 20 people. And again, it's helped bring people to the downtown. So here it is closed. Looks like a shark fin a bit. But it depends where you're standing. Sometimes it looks like a wave. Sometimes it looks like a feather. Sometimes it looks like gills. Here it is opened entirely the other way. It looks sort of like fish gills, we think. And what's fun is the kids can't help but put their hand in this clear falling water. And the kids really love it. Here's a detail. This is a concrete invention of ours where we put rocks in the concrete and little reveals in order to deter skateboarders, as well as to help with the metaphor of the beach. And the person who paid for this art piece, this is public art, but it was paid for privately, we gave a dedication to Within the Water's Edge and the reflection to think about the man who passed away. Surrounding the whole piece is a compass rose, so you know where you are. And again, the little boat bench that has the stainless steel studs. Again, because skateboarders love small walls. Here's another piece of it. I wish I had it to show you moving. We also realized water and fountains are possibly not good in drought situations. So we tried to create a fountain that would look good even if there were no water in it. So the pool is made to look more like a beach when it's turned off. And this is why people were a little up in arms with us for a few months. Looked like we were putting in a nuclear power plant. There's Jeff tying rebar. It really is just the 2 of us, except when we had the plumbers in to do the circulation filters. And this is the mold for the bench, oak bench, which I won't tell you how many months this bench took. You don't want to know. Here are the sails being made in a larger sphere than could fit in ours. They start at 3 inches on the bottom and they go to 1 inch at the top. And here we are putting in this specialty concrete and placing teak-colored concrete into curving stainless steel benches. And this is the sails. We're bending the sails, and this is a shot at the site. And this is an interesting shot because apparently, according to our engineer, this is a stressed skin support, which, unlike the Curie Center, which just has these appliques of stainless steel or titanium, these are actually, the sail itself is its own structure. So that's the inside of it before it's being welded up. And now we're back to seal point again. This is again the flock in place. And here it is inside. And the things you think, oh, well, I'll come up with this idea. And then you actually have to make it. So the idea is, well, we'll make the sails just rotate. And then you have to figure out actually how to make the sails rotate. Well, we'll have this big pretzel-like stainless steel bar. And then you have to figure out where to bend it. And actually, there's very few places left in California that will bend a 3-inch piece of pipe like this. So we went to Stockton and found this big old bender. And somebody who has these old templates to make it just the way you want it. And then you still have to weld it at the base. And there it is being welded at the base. And this is also at that windy site, Seal Point Park, and this is called, we also have to keep things way out of reach, including people on trucks, etc., because there's no one there in the park to keep vandals out. And this is it at our studio. It catches wind in 2 directions, and then on the inside are this kaleidoscope of colors, and there it is inside. So it's fun to look up under it. And that was the video I was going to show you moving. And then these are some musical instruments. So if you go to Seal Point Park, you have to actually sit in front of these, and some make the sound of thunder, some xylophones, some gong sounds. And then this is the piece, my last piece to show you. This is the piece we're currently working on for a juvenile detention facility in Sacramento. Frank Lloyd Wright said his favorite building was his next one, always. And so we're already sort of, by the time you're finished with a piece, you're kind of over it and you're ready for the next one. That's almost where we are with this piece. So this is a courtyard, very hot, sunny courtyard, a new building in Sacramento. Again, it's juveniles waiting for their trial. And they come in under handcuffs from the other side of the building. And the only time they see this courtyard is when they're leaving. So the idea here, the piece is called Taking Flight. And the idea is that they'll rejoin the flock, and they're leaving with the birds. And on the ground plane will be shadow birds that say, begin, hope, fly, courage, soar, as well as some poetry. So these birds are hanging on cables, and they actually sway in the wind. And there are 2 benches that look like wings. Most of our pieces have benches, again, to bring in the community to sit and observe. This is my husband putting his tinfoil on the underside of the mold. If you've ever made a mold with no straight lines, you'll know that it's a swearing experience. And here they are completed. And the shadows of the birds actually are almost as interesting, if not more interesting, than the birds themselves. And here they are overhead. They're cantilevering off these crossing cables of stainless steel. And so they kind of, some of them bounce in the wind, and then a few of them actually have hinges and flap in the wind. One thing I'd like to say that Palo Alto does well is they take their public art funds, they sock it away over here, and then they say, this is a good spot to put public art. Other communities that have put 1% for the art in their budgets for large public works think that they have to put the 1% in the building, whatever the building is. And so we see a lot of fire departments needing, a piece of sculpture. Well, if ever there's a public building that doesn't need public art, because you don't want to really encourage people to stand in front of a fire truck that's coming out. So I have a beef about putting art in front of fire departments, but there's a lot of other buildings that I would say likewise. Take that money, pool it, and then find the heart of your community that really needs revitalizing, and put the art there and encourage people to come and enjoy art and enrich their lives with beauty. I always envy the Italians. They're raised with such beauty just walking down the street from the time they're little. People who are raised in Irvine, Irvine, it's the goodest parts of Irvine. You see a lot of streets, a lot of sidewalks, a lot of asphalt, and you're not teaching your children to live a more culturally beautiful life. So that's it. Thank you very much.